Hi guys, thanks for clicking on the vid. Right, my name's Bill, and I just want to say a few things about this whole Atheism Plus train smash. I've been commenting on other people's channels, but 500 characters just isn't enough to say what I want to say about this. It's irritating the hell out of me. The first thing is, they're not atheists, they're feminists. They don't talk about atheism. Most of them haven't got a clue who one of the biggest figures in the American atheist movement is. They're blatantly making a grab for the public face of the atheist movement, and it's a movement that hasn't had anything at all to do with their dogma so far. I'll come back to that, but you've got to ask yourself, what's wrong with feminism? Well, there's shitloads wrong with it. I'll start with three of the biggest problems that I've got with it. The first thing is this patriarchy theory. It's not a theory. A theory is a useful construct. A theory colloquially implies a useful explanation of why something is the way it is. Scientifically, it makes a useful, quantifiable prediction about what's going to happen under certain circumstances. Patriarchy doesn't do that. Patriarchy is just a long list of grievances against men. It's rationalisations about how men are to blame for every single thing under the sun. See, under this theory, if a woman's disadvantaged in any way whatsoever, it's because of patriarchy, and men are oppressing her. The problem is that if she holds an advantage at any stage in her life at all, then it's benevolent sexism, inflicted by the patriarchy, which means that she's still being oppressed by men. There's no circumstance where she's not being oppressed. There's no policy, there's no concession, and there's no positive action that can change that. The patriarchy are in control, and until they're overthrown, women are always going to be oppressed. The problem is that men are the patriarchy. See, men are the problem, and they need to be completely removed from every single endeavour of human life to defeat this patriarchy. So basically, patriarchy theory is just a rationale for completely destroying, completely subjugating every male alive. They've got another notion about privilege. This notion is that in any given interaction, one individual is going to have more privilege than the individual they're interacting with. Now, the privileged individual can't understand what life's like for the individual lacking privilege, and they can't comment on it. So, for instance, a man can't comment on women's issues because he doesn't understand, he doesn't get it. A white woman couldn't possibly comment on the issues pertaining to a person of colour because she just doesn't get it. The problem is that you can't have a meaningful dialogue if you follow that line of reasoning. The person with the least privilege gets to say the first, the last, and the only word on the subject. Misogyny. It's another one that these numpties just haven't really got the same appreciation of that the rest of us have. It's not just a hatred of women as a sexually defined group. They take it to mean that any criticism of feminism whatsoever, however slight, whether it's implied, whether it's actual, offered by persons of either sex, it's automatically equivalent to hating every woman on the planet. Now, the three form the basis of the response to any kind of communication that doesn't conform precisely to whatever it is they've decided that feminism should stand for today. Patriarchy is just this catch-all explanation for all the evil in the world, and there's got variations on check your privilege and you just don't get it, to stand in basically for shut the fuck up, I don't like what I'm hearing. Now, if you dare to continue the conversation with them, then you become a misogynist, you become a rape enabler, or they call you an MRA. Thing is, why should I be bothered about what these muppets think? Well, there's power in words. Most people don't really give a toss about atheism. If you're in the UK, you're probably an atheist already. If you're in America, the chances are you're so Christian you can't possibly conceive of not being a Christian. If A+ gets enough traction, then it's just going to default to the public face of atheism. But the thing is, that would be a disaster. Atheism is important. Somebody needs to be able to point at the emperor's clothes. Organised religion is just too powerful, it's too influential, and it's far too open to manipulation by unscrupulous individuals to be left unchecked. The religious, they want to poke their nose into everything, from reproductive rights, from individual sexuality. They want to get into science, education, legal and constitutional debate, foreign policy. They even want to decide who gets to serve in the armed forces. They're claiming this absolute authority on every single issue, and it's divinely endorsed. See, feminists, especially A-plus feminists, aren't the people to fight this. They're far too prone to this creationist type of approach of vandalising and tearing down anything that they don't agree with. It doesn't matter how useful or valid that thing might be. See, we need people like Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins. We need Harriet Hall and Eugenie Scott and all those other people, all those other public figures that have been fighting against religious excesses for years now. Now, a lot of them do hold feminist beliefs. Some of them have got very strong feminist beliefs, but they don't self-identify as being feminist. They don't consist purely of feminist and feminist ideology. It's part of, not what they are. I honestly don't think that the P.Z. Myers and the Rebecca Watsons of this world are capable of meeting the challenge. And I certainly don't think that the professional victims over on A+ and Free Thought blogs are anything close to being up to it. Now see, that's my main objection. But I really don't appreciate being accused of being a potential rapist either. See, there's no amount of sugar that you can coat that Schrodinger's rapist pill with. Just because I'm male, I've become overnight a potential rapist. I can be justifiably maced just for talking to a woman. What? See, words have power. Rape's got more power than almost any other word I know. This A+ crowd and the baboons over at Free Thought blogs, they love to throw out rape accusations and statistics like chimpanzees throwing poo out of the ape house. It's kind of hard to take them seriously though. See, rape's a terrible ordeal, it's a horrible thing, it's one of the worst attacks that a human being can inflict on another human being. One would be too many, and there's thousands every single year. But that's not what they're saying. What they're doing is, they're magnifying the problem out of all proportion. See, they've got this strapline, 1 in 3 women will be raped in their lifetime. But they don't offer a source for it. They just repeat it over and over again. And you can't get any recent statistics from the UK, Canada and the USA to show anything close to the number of rapes you would need to generate that statistic. Now, the real numbers are bad enough. There's over 80,000 rapes were carried out in the UK last year. You don't need to exaggerate that, it's bad enough. But it's incredibly rare. I think it works out as 0.13% as a chance of any one individual in the United Kingdom being raped. If you work that out per day, I mean, it's not worth saying as a statistic. It's something like 3.6 times 10 to the minus 4% as a daily possibility of being raped. It's just as likely to happen to a man. Now, that's something that the feminists aren't publicising. They don't even recognise the fact, for the most part, that men are going to be raped. If they do, then they come out with some claptrap about, well, that'll be in prison and it's men doing the raping. However, it's rare. Now, I've been looking for the original source for this, and it might be an article that Mary Cross wrote for Ms Magazine, back in 1985. Now, if it is, please, can we just think this through? People are basing a whole life statistic for every woman in the Western world on a tiny survey of college girls carried out in 1985. I mean, if it was lifetime earnings or possibility of dyeing hair cherry red, would you pay any attention to it? And that's without looking at the survey itself. See, that particular survey, a lot of the girls who had been asked whether they were raped, they'd have been really surprised that Mary Cross decided they had been raped, because one of the questions she asked specifically was, have you been raped? And a lot of them said no. But then she decided what the answers were. It'd be quite enlightening to see how she'd have treated male answers to exactly the same questions. I mean, one of the you have been raped answers was if you've had sexual intercourse while under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Yeah, if a male had done that, then yeah, you could spin that. Automatically, he's the rapist. But there was another question about, have you been verbally coerced into having sex with your partner? Now, if you're male and you'd been verbally coerced, you'd been verbally bullied into having sex with your partner, would you have been raped? And if the male wasn't raped under those circumstances, well, how can a woman be a victim under identical circumstances? Thing is, it's a feed a horse, and they know that it's a feed a horse. You've got to judge them by their actions rather than by all this claptrap that they're constantly spouting. They've got this idea in free thought blogs, A+, and their various bloggers and allies in the feminist movement. They like to think that atheist conferences aren't a safe environment for women. And whether they are or not, you've got to look at what their proposed solution for this is. Because there's a problem with males and misogyny and women are at risk, they've got this solution where they're going to appoint male bodyguards to the vulnerable females. They're going to appoint male bodyguards drawn from the males attending these conferences to protect the females. Forget the fact that they need men to protect them in the first place. They're drawing them from the people they say are the problem. It's horseshit. They're not keen on personal experience as well. I mean, this is, they like to say your experience isn't everybody else's, and I accept that. However, I've been talking to some of my friends, some of my male friends, over the last few weeks about this, and it turns out that all of us have had at least one experience, sometimes lots of experiences, of where we've either had the threat of physical violence made against us, or we've actually experienced physical violence inflicted upon us while we've been defending a woman under different circumstances. Now, obviously not all the same women. Now, my circle of friends is pretty varied. I know a lot of ex-servicemen from all over the United Kingdom and the Caribbean, a lot of working men in Glasgow, and bikers from all over Britain. That's a pretty broad base. I don't think my experience is particularly unusual. I don't think that men are so much Schrodinger's rapist as more likely to be Schrodinger's Samaritan. So if you're not a feminist, girls, relax. Guys have been protecting you for thousands of years. It's not going to change anytime soon. Believe me. Anyway, feel free to express any concerns you've got, anything I've got wrong, stick it in the comments. Really, anything you want down below. Thanks for watching this far. Thanks for putting up my rant. I look forward to talking to you again. Thanks for watching.